Hey, and welcome back to Vita versus 3DS. In this video we're going to do a comparison between Rayman Origins on PlayStation Vita and Rayman Origins on Nintendo 3DS. Just to note that this comparison is a comparison of the demos of the game, not the actual game. But for all intents and purposes, at least the Vita version, from what I've seen, is you download the full game, and the 3DS version, I'm pretty sure it is indicative of how the actual game will run, and yeah, they don't include the exact same levels. 3DS comes with 3 very different levels, while the Vita version comes with 4 levels in progression, and they're not at all the same, but they take place at a similar part in the game, I suppose. So enough of a comparison can be drawn. So first we're going to look at the Vita version up close. I'm going to get it on my stand, hold it nice and still, and play the game. And I'm going to talk about how it moves and stuff like that. And then we're going to switch to 3DS, and I'm going to talk about how well it holds up, what, if anything, they had to take out, and things like that. For the most part, it's going to be a graphical comparison, but I will talk about such things like controls and things like that along the way. But keep in mind, this is the demo version. I don't have the real version, so this isn't like a complete gameplay comparison or anything. So yeah, so on to PlayStation Vita's Rayman Origins. Alright, so this is the Rayman Origins demo on PlayStation Vita. First I want to show you something that I think is exclusive to the Vita version, and it's zooming, which can be done by pinching like this, and it gets nice and up close to the action. I like this feature because it gets nice and close, and it shows off how sharp the graphics are. Like, it doesn't even get blurry as it gets closer. It still stays sharp, and it shows off all the nice fluid animations that he has. This game has such beautiful sprites and moves so fluidly and smooth, so it really shows it off. But of course, gameplay wise, it's not really practical because you can't see very far ahead of you, so I like to keep it not all the way zoomed out, maybe a little bit less, like that. So yeah, let's move on. I think that the game runs really smooth, but I'm not sure if it's 60 frames per second or if it's 30 frames per second. I'm just not sure. I wouldn't be surprised if it's 60, but I don't want to say that it's 60. I'll say that it's very fluid 30. And maybe someone can correct me. We haven't looked at the 3DS version yet, but the reason why I mentioned the frame rate was because perhaps that may be the only difference between the two games. In terms of sound and music too, the games are pretty similar. The 3DS version is a perfect port in that regard. I haven't actually bought these games yet, but after playing the demos extensively, I think I will very soon. I just think they're both really good. I may not get both versions. In terms of the controls, right now I'm using the D-pad. I just feel like the analog stick isn't needed for this at all, and it's also more comfortable because it's nice and high up on the Vita. And for 2D games, you really don't need an analog stick, really. Okay, so we're done that level. So that's Rayman Origins on PlayStation Vita. It's super gorgeous, it's really high res, super sharp, super fluid. it's just a really great controlling game. So yeah, now we're gonna move on to the 3DS demo. Alright, so this is Rayman Origins on Nintendo 3DS. Again, like the Vita version, I'll talk about the one exclusive feature about it that I see here is at the bottom, a mini map at the bottom. So it kind of shows you where you are relative to the level and some coins and things like that in the way. Like it tells you where things are. It's not very detailed and it's not necessary, but it is gameplay related, unlike the PlayStation Vita one, which is just a sort of visual quirk. That said, I'll probably end up using the zooming feature on Vita more because, as you can see here, Rayman is pretty small on the screen in some parts. Anyway, that's fine. Just in terms of how he moves around, as you can see here, I feel like no animation was compromised, like no expense was spared here to get the full animations, but there's just something off, and it's hard for me to put my finger on it. If I'm running back and forth now, if you remember how the Vita version looked a little while ago, it just seems slower. Like it seems like Rayman running in slow-mo and jumping in slow-mo, like he hangs in the air for a little longer, and it just doesn't feel like it was intentional at all. And you know, raising his hands up or like, you know, picking up from running and diving or whatever, you know, it just seems slower. And I don't know if that has to do with slowdown in the game. I don't know if it has to do with a drop frame rate. I don't know if it has to do with the dropping of certain frames in animation, but there's just something a little bit off. But again, that's just nitpicking. If you've never played the Xbox 360 or PlayStation 3 or PC or Vita version, then it runs at a perfectly fast pace. Anyway, so, oh, well, that was embarrassing. Okay, let's try this again. Something to note too is that the positioning of the 3DS's D-pad is too low for me to use it. I find it's too low for me to use it in this game because it's just uncomfortable relative to the L1 button, which I prefer to use for dashing. But that's just, you know, that's just my my quirk. So many people have no problem using it, and right now I'm using the analog stick, and it controls just fine. A lot of people actually prefer using that for 2D games anyway, or any type of game. As I said before too, the sound and the music seems spot on. Oh crap. Sorry for my repeated misses, it's hard to play while keeping the system still. So something to note too is that Vita's resolution is higher than 3DS's, but the screen on 3DS is smaller, so a lot of the time you don't see that a huge resolution difference. But in this game, I don't know if it's possible that, I know a lot of Vita games do this, but I don't know if it's possible for a 3DS game to run at below native res. But if there is a game that's running at it, it's this game, because if you look very close, the game is actually a little blurry compared to the Vita version. It's even on the smaller screen. It's blurry, and of course because of the OLED has like really wicked contrast and amazing colors. Like it looks a little dull and drab, and compared to the Vita version. But again, you know, for the most part, not many compromises have been made, and it plays great. Same little victory dance he has there. It's perfect. So I guess that's it for the comparison. really want this game, I'm gonna buy it right after this. Probably for PlayStation Vita though, just in terms of, you know, the visuals are a little smoother and crisper, and I prefer the controls on the PlayStation Vita since the D-pad's higher relative to the L1 button, which is a little more comfortable, and I went over that in my design video. But yeah, you know, I will be for sure picking this game up. But if you only have a 3DS, again, it gets the job done, and you know, it's perfectly serviceable on this system, and it's a great game, and I expect it to score very well too. So that's it. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.